To be free with sound, to be free with music is probably one of the most precious things that I think society can have. The idea of Tomorrow Comes to Harvest came from, well, it came indirectly actually. It started as the title of an album of the late Tony Allen and myself. And it came about from a collaboration that we had created basically to mix genres together. It was from an invitation that Tony was giving to artists to visit him in the studio that he had rented in the north of Paris, just to kind of meet up like a jam session, and I accepted to go there to meet him for the first time. And things worked out so well that we decided to record music together, which led to touring and an eventual album. And the name of that album was called Tomorrow Comes to Harvest. And it's a phrase that comes from a science fiction story of Octavia Butler. And in the story, she proposed this idea that if we're conscious about what we do today, if we are focused on doing something that might have some influence later, that maybe in time we'll begin to see the fruit of those actions. And so that's what the phrase means. And so when Tony passed away a few years ago, I took time to think about the initial idea of what we were trying to do, and decided to recreate the project, inviting more musicians in, and this project would be called Tomorrow Comes to Harvest. After Tony Allen passed away, I took some time to think about what we were trying to do in relation to what was happening in the music industry, and in my case, mainly from electronic music, where the technology was helping us, but it was also, or it's taking the lead in the process of creation. And in my opinion, in view, too many artists rely too much on technology to materialize things for them. And so much so that the music began to sound the same, and the same sound elements were being used to produce this very generic type of form of electronic music, of dance music. And I thought that this would be an opportunity to be able to take these same machines that are regularly used in electronic music and to rethink them and use them in a different way, to actually play the machines, to try to get closer to what a live musician would do, and their reactions and the character of what it sounds like when someone's actually striking something, and things like that, rather than the perfected monotonous type of way that machines work. More than ever, that would be a great time to kind of demonstrate that there are other ways that we can approach to making electronic music. It started off with that. There were also musicians in other fields that had the same type of thinking and the same type of perspective, that perhaps maybe technology and the way that we even communicate is dictating too much of the way that we create, and that some of us tend to use the easiest way to get there, to produce something. The idea of discovering something new becomes less and less because of that. You are directly looking for something, and there you find it, but you don't search to find it. You go directly to it. This project is about searching for the most part. And in the process of searching for something or reaching for something, you discover other things. And this is what takes the project to the left, to the right, down below, up above, and it's really an exploratory approach to music in itself. It's nothing new. I mean, there have been artists in the past like Frank Zappa and many other artists that have no plan and have no real destination. You're just trying to extract what you feel in the moment. And this project is very much the same. The inclusion of Prabu Edward, the tabla master, was something that I had been thinking about since the first time that we met. Many years ago, I was invited to create a classical piece in Toulouse with the Toulouse Philharmonic Orchestra. And they asked me to create a project for performance. And I came up with the idea to create a score and performance based on the idea of being lost in space. Having a destination, but then you being turned around to the point that you're lost in space. And when you're lost is when you're open and vulnerable to anything. And so the performance was based on this idea that you no longer have a sense of where your destination is, and you are searching for something, some type of clue, and in the process of that, you discover these amazing things in the universe. And I had created the score, I had created the story form for what should happen. And at a certain point, I thought that maybe this story can be a bit abstract. Maybe it needs to be led along by a storyteller. Not telling us where to go, but kind of there as a kind of guide to kind of rationalize these strange things that you're experiencing. Planets colliding together, black holes, and all these type of things. And I thought that a musician that could speak with their instrument would be the best kind of guide to have in a performance like that. And it led me to the idea of searching for a tablaist, a tabla player. And so I searched Paris to find the best tabla player here, which led me to Mr. Edward. And we contacted him and asked him if he was interested in this project. He said yes. And then since then, I wanted to work with him again. And I was always looking for opportunities to invite him in. And he was the first person that I thought about when formatting the Tomorrow Comes the Harvest. And so I contacted him and explained to him the situation, and he agreed to try it. And yeah, so that's how we brought him in. It's best to explain that we're unsynced. In other words, there's nothing electronically that's happening between us. So we're using our ears the same way as other musicians would listen to another musician for tempo, for key, and things like that. I'm listening to Prabu, and he's listening to me, and we're having a communication between our instruments. And we have kind of condition ourselves to understand that we are sharing the frequency range. And so when he's playing something that's really low, that gives me the opportunity to play something that's really high, and vice versa. So we're actually kind of mixing these two instruments together to become one, in a way, one instrument. And this lays the platform and the foundation for other musicians to be able to solo on top of. And the more that we play together, the more we understand, the more we talk and have conversations together, the more we understand the best way to kind of create this type of fabric, this percussion fabric beneath as a foundation. I'm convinced that as long as I think that there's a value in experimenting and reaching for something, then it's possible that I'm going to discover something new or something different that will eventually help me in the process of creating and programming and playing music. For instance, I mistakenly, like a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, I mistakenly synced two machines together and found a lot of interesting ways to manipulate the scales between two machines to create something that is so unpredictable that it's hard to even keep track of. And this kind of reminds me of when I used to play with Tony Allen, and I would be next to him and I would listen to what he's doing and watch what he's doing, but I still could not understand where it was coming from. That it was so complex that I just kind of just gave up and just began to just take whatever it is that he was doing. It didn't make any sense, you know, but it was incredible. And so I kind of ran across a very, I guess, a more simple way of doing it, of constantly reshaping the structure of a composition so that it's never the same, yet it's moving forward, but it never allows you to be able to really get set in a particular repetitious type of manner. But it is repetitious. And you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next, because I don't know what's going to happen next by manipulating these scales. So this is where I am, like right now. This is what's going through my mind, and as soon as I get back to my studio, I'm sure that it's going to play out into something, or not. Maybe I'll discover something else. It's all about trying to use music or sound in a way that you, in a way, kind of disorient the listener to the point that they become so open. First they become lost, and then they're open, like being lost in space. And then you give them something that they'll never forget. And that is this combination of being something very impactful, that they didn't expect it, but here it is. And there's no apologies, there's no explanation, it just happened. And I think that's really part of the magic of, you know, the relationship between, deeper relationship that we can have with music. Let's see, what can we expect? We'll be ready to travel, that's for sure, but we know that there'll be musically very interesting people in the audience, because it is a jazz festival. It's a very prominent jazz festival, and we know that's very important. I can't tell you what to expect because we don't know. We haven't set the destination of there's some things that I'm thinking about maybe saying to them just before we take the stage that might, you know, help a little bit, maybe not. But yeah, we really don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. I'm quite excited about the whole possibility, actually. These, you know, Prabhu Edward and John Fidari, they're great musicians, and they know this scenario very well. So I'm very comfortable with the idea that, you know, we should be able to take the audience with us wherever it is that we're going to go, and I really look forward to that. This type of approach can be applied to many other art forms, to many other things where you don't think about it. It's just reactionary. It rarely shows what the artist or the creator feels at that moment, what it really feels like to be on the opposite side of the microphone or the opposite side of the keyboard, to put ourselves very much in the place of the person in the audience. And I think that then music can become even more intimate and more connected, I think. So I think that, you know, it's a sign of things. I feel it's a sign of things to come. I think that to be free with sound, to be free with music, is probably one of the most precious things that I think society can have. an advanced society, or even, and I think that we're probably showing signs of something that's going to expand much more. I think as the mixing of genres and the openness and the freeness of how musicians are on the stage and in front of an audience, and what they say doesn't have to be so literal. It can be ambiguous and free and open and left for interpretation by the listener is very important as well, to have the freedom to be able to understand it the way that you feel, not necessarily specifically what the artist is trying to make you say. And so I think we're in this moment. I think, uh, 100 years ago, a lot of people were thinking the same in other art forms. I think music is showing signs of wanting to change. Artists are showing signs of wanting to have more connection. And I think that this type of improvisational, spontaneous type of way is a pathway. Yeah, to share the stage with Sun Ra Orchestra is very special. I've studied Sun Ra for many years, not just his music, but just the thinking behind his approach to why he's here and what is his purpose of being here, and the time that he spent on this planet, and that he eventually went back to where he was from. And so to share the stage for me really speaks to a change in time, I think. Someone from electronic music, where we're very much into the confines and the boundaries of electronic music, and it's rare to kind of interact and to be inclusive in a lineup in a concert of like this. Electronic music isn't something that I think jazz artists are having very much connections with, and so for me to be able to be invited and to share the stage with Sun Ra Orchestra is incredible, and I think it's, like I said before, it's really perhaps maybe a sign of things to come. There are things that personally, there are things that I want to say because I'm sharing the stage with Sun Ra Orchestra, because there is an audience that knows this Sun Ra Orchestra very well, and we are being invited for the first time. So there's things that I want to say and things that I want to show to the audience. And one thing is that the distance between the genre of jazz and electronic music was never very far. It was always very close, and it was just a matter of approach and method that was kind of giving this impression that we're worlds apart. But actually, the objective and the destinations of a lot of creations is basically the same. And so I have made music about the planet of Saturn almost as much as Sun Ra has mentioned it in his interviews and in his life. I know I've studied that planet so much that it's really intrinsic in my work, and not just Saturn, but all the planets of the solar system, other galaxies, all types of other strange things in the cosmos, runs very much through a lot of my work. And so I've only met a few musicians from Sun Ra Orchestra, but I know that we have a lot in common. And so I look forward to this occasion, seeing the band, and Yeah, and it's something that I really probably will remember for a long time.